Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. Well, it's a Rough Ryder tiger stripe jig bone knife. And I was debating on if I was going to pick this up or not. But finally, Kitty came over and said, "Look, it's got a tiger on the box. You got to pick it up." It's like, all right, fine, Kitty, I will pick it up just for you. And so that's why I have the Rough Ryder tiger stripe jig bone knife in its genuine magnetic box. And I gotta admit it, the box does look pretty nice, and the picture of the tiger on the front is nice, and you got the artwork on the side here with the tiger stripes on the box. That's kind of nice too. So it is a very pretty box, and I'm sure Kitty will enjoy the box for a while. I'm wondering if she will try and fit inside the box. There's always that possibility. Cats love to climb in a box that is way too small for them. In any case, which knife did I pick up? Well, take a guess. Yeah, you guessed it. The tiger stripe jig bone scout knife. And here we have it. Wait a minute. That's the Dave Canterbury Scout King. How did that get in the box? I mean, this was an exclusive for Marbles. Marbles, Dave Canterbury Scout King. This was supposedly, designed with collaboration with Dave Canterbury. Well, obviously, this is the actual Scout King. But as you can tell, it is pretty much the exact same knife as the Dave Canterbury knife. That is by Marbles, with the exception that the blade does not have Dave Canterbury's signature on there. So I'm wondering if Rough Ryder is paying royalties to Dave Canterbury for his design. Somehow, I suspect not. Obviously, the other big difference on there is, if you notice, there's a big R on the bolster of the Rough Ryder knife. The Marbles knife does not have it. Otherwise, these knives are pretty much identical. But in case you haven't seen my Dave Canterbury review, let me talk about this knife here, which is the tiger stripe jig bone, and we can at least talk about the tiger stripe jig bone. And it's really pretty when you get right down to it. It's got that kind of a chestnut bone color going on, and then it's much darker where the stripes are, and you see it is definitely like a tiger stripe pattern going on there, which is pretty cool on both sides. I actually like the back side better than the front, mainly because of the big R bolster, but at least there's not a lot of other stuff on here, and at least it's missing a shield, so that's good. You didn't ruin the tiger stripe bone by sticking a shield in there. So the lack of other billboarding on the knife makes the R a little more tolerable. You do have the nice pinched bolsters, which if you notice, the Marbles bolsters are not pinched. I do kind of like pinched bolsters. See that little pinch going on there? The pinch is on the back side here. The bail moves pretty smoothly, and then you've got the oversized blades going all around. So you've got a 3-inch Spearmaster blade going on, which is kind of nice, fairly sharp. Your razor sharp 448 stainless steel by Rough Ryder. I have no complaints with that. And then you have the sewing eye in the awl here, or punch blade, whatever you want to call it. The punch is not as sharp as other ones that I've seen, but you could definitely get an edge on there if you wanted to do that. But it is sharp enough so that you could drill through leather and stuff, and it's got a nice little point there. Not extremely pointy, but pointy enough. And then you also have the long cap lifter screwdriver, and that really comes to an edge there. Is that more of an edge than on here? Yeah, that is really thin. The tip of that is very thin, so I worry that it might bend a little bit. You might want to actually take a file and flatten that down a bit because of just how sharp and thin it is. So it might not be the best of screwdrivers, but you could definitely get in there and pry up a few things, and not too bad. And yeah, the cap lifter will work just fine. And then you've got the oversized can opener here, which was an issue with the knife to begin with. I mentioned that before, that I don't like how far up the can opener is, especially when you open the other blade. You've got that bump there, and I think it's got more bump than necessary. And one of the reasons I actually picked up this knife is because I was planning on reprofiling the can opener anyway, so I wasn't too worried about how far it was up. I was going to try and do some filing of this area and the tip of this to get it to drop further into the handle. And I still plan on doing that, but when I first got this knife and picked it up, well, something happened, and it made me realize that that's not going to be as much of a task as I originally thought it was going to be. Now, before we go on, let me zip back over to the Dave Canterbury Scout knife, or Scout King. And I was not at all impressed with the can opener on this one, because it was just very lazy. No snap, whatever, opening. You do hear a nice click when it's closing, but that's because the tip of the can opener and everything is actually hitting the back spring. And to me, that was problematic. The fact that, I mean, this is the half stop. Well, you can stop it almost anywhere along the way, so the half stop was meaningless on this knife. And then it became very tight here, and you had to pull it open. And again, not much of a half stop, you know what I mean? This knife, the Tiger Stripe, it actually does get that pop going. It actually does pop to the half stop, which was good. And what I was wondering when I got this knife is, is it actually making contact with the back spring like it does on the Scout King? And I assumed it did, but then I went and did this. Like, what the heck is that? How did that happen? And if you notice, see how far up it is there? But then I can actually push it down a bit. And when it's pushed down a little bit, it actually feels better in the hand. And I was thinking, that's odd. What did they do to make this knife so that it could push down like that? And then I realized what it was, if you watch right here. See that? See that gap that formed right there? The problem wasn't that they did something to get the can opener to go down some. The problem is the can opener can actually get pushed in between the back springs here. And so somewhere between a spring and a spacer, right there, in there, the can opener tip is actually getting pushed into the spring. And I realized, yeah, actually what I can do is I just need to reprofile this, taking off about that much of the tip, and then the can opener will just drop freely, and it should drop down enough so that it's down where it's a little more comfortable. And that's what I plan on doing with this knife. I'm just going to take my Dremel tool and file down this tip and reprofile the end of the can opener, and maybe even give it a bit of an edge, because this can opener has no sharp edge whatsoever, and it will work a whole lot better if it actually has a sharpened edge on the can opener. But it was just kind of interesting that there's a flaw in the build on this knife, and you can actually push the tip of the can opener in between the spring. I know over time what that's going to do is loosen up the pin, which is not a good thing. So in theory, what I should have done is return the knife, but simply because I'm planning on reprofiling the can opener anyway, what's the point of sending it back? Because otherwise the knife is just fine. And one of the things I did not like about it was the way the can opener sits so proud. So, well, let's get started and get this can opener, what's the word? Ground down a little bit. I'm gonna have to do some grinding. Okay, so here's the Dave Canterbury's, and here is now the one on my Tiger Stripe. Notice it doesn't have nearly the hook that the Canterbury one has. Took off quite a chunk of steel there. Yeah, I got a nick there. That's what happens sometimes, rushing myself. I also took off a little of the belly down here because I was hearing it hit against the spring. Wanted to make sure. Got a little bit of an edge on the can opener now too, so I can actually cut into a can now a little easier. And well, that's the after shot. See how far down it drops, and it is hitting the back spring. This bump here is now hitting the back spring down there, so it is resting as far down as it can go, as opposed to this one that the tip of the can opener is actually hitting the back spring. Notice the difference in the bump, how much higher it sits than the one I just cut now. Notice you can actually see this arch in the can opener on this one when it's closed. This one, that arch is down below now, so you can't see it when it's down there. It's because before the blade was sitting about yay high, so now it's down a little bit more. It definitely feels a little more comfortable in the hand. You can still feel it. It still protrudes a little bit, but it does on regular camp knives also. But it's better than the bump you have here. So if I were you and you pick up one of these Tiger Stripes or even the Dave Canterbury, go ahead and make the can opener a little more functional. Grind it down a little bit, put an edge on it, grind this portion down here. Took me all of about 5 minutes to do it. Yeah, I could have done it a lot neater and a lot cleaner if I would have taken a little more time. I was actually hand holding this and just using a Dremel tool to get it down, so probably not the safest way to do it, but I like it a whole lot better than the one that sits up so high. In any case, there I have it. I have a Tiger Stripe Scout knife, or actually Kitty has a Tiger Stripe Scout knife. I still have the same old crappy Dave Canterbury Scout knife with a can opener that is blah. But anyway, there you have it. The Rough Rider Tiger Stripe and Jig Bone. I would definitely do something about the can opener. Otherwise, yeah, it's kind of an interesting knife, 4 1/4 inches long. So you've got a bigger Scout knife, but if you do a little work on the can opener, you've got a better, bigger Scout knife. let me take just a second to thank you once again for dropping by and spending a few minutes here at Knife Chats with the Pious. I really do appreciate it, and I do appreciate any comments that you leave. So please remember to give me that thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you'll know when the next episode is up and running. Thanks again for dropping by. Really do appreciate your time here.